You're listening to a podcast appearing on the Two Guys Talking Podcast Network.
This is the Weekly Firecast, episode 25, a talk with Tracy Carter of JAC's Tailgaters.
Strap yourselves in. It's time for the Weekly Firecast. This is the podcast for all foodies, those who love food that is cooked over a fire or feels like fire in your mouth. If you love spice, smoke, sauce, and all things savory, this is the show for you. And now, here's your host, chili head and barbecuer, Scott Roberts.
And a big hello goes to all the chili heads, fiery foods fans, and barbecuers everywhere. My name is Scott Roberts. I'm your host for this little podcast. Currently the only one on the web that focuses on spicy foods and hot sauce, and all the chili pepper infused products that you love. If you happen to have discovered the Weekly Firecast outside of my own blog, maybe via iTunes or some other channel, let me quickly introduce myself. I've been a chili head blogger, writer, and reviewer for a number of years. My main website is scottrobertsweb.com. That is my foodie blog. I'm also a columnist for Chili Pepper Magazine. I'm a voiceover artist and a podcaster. And not just for the Weekly Firecast, but for a few other programs on the Two Guys Talking network, for both the TV shows Dexter and The Following. And more information on those can be found at the official Two Guys Talking site, which is the numeral 2guystalking.com. So a lot's been going on in the fiery foods and barbecue world. If you listen to last week's podcast, you'll know that I talked to Shane Draper of Draper's BBQ. Great guy to talk to, great conversation. If you haven't heard that interview, go ahead and go back and listen to episode 24. There's all kinds of good information that can be found in there. But Shane also made an announcement on there, and that he was working with Tracy Carter of JAC's Tailgaters on some barbecue products, and ones that he told me were going to rock the barbecue competition world. So although nothing's been set in stone as far as the name of the products or the company name that they'll be released under, but as far as sauces and rubs to keep an eye out for, that's something all of you should definitely do. But anyway, I talked to him last week, and this week I had a schedule interviewed for Tracy Carter of JAC's Tailgaters. And Tracy is an extremely busy guy, but he's a good friend of mine, and he was able to set aside about a half hour of his time to talk about himself, the history of JAC's Tailgaters, all the products he's involved with, which span the gamut from hot sauces to barbecue to dip mixes and seasoning mixes, all kinds of good stuff. Of course, I try to get a little bit more details about his collaboration with Shane Draper of Draper's BBQ. So that's going to be up ahead in this podcast shortly. Just stick around. And then last week I also mentioned that a few new segments were coming up, probably this week. Well, to be honest with you, it's not going to happen this week. I'm actually waiting for a few voiceover intros from someone to kind of introduce those segments in a, professional manner because, I want to make a nice, slick podcast for everybody, even though at times, to be honest, this is almost as low-tech as you can get. But still, I want to have a good show for everybody, so whenever those voiceover intros for those segments are done and complete, hopefully by next week, I will start those new segments. So stick around. Thanks for your patience, everyone. So there's not much in the way of housekeeping this week. Just to kind of let you know, the Ultimate Hot Sauce Showdown, which I talked about a couple of weeks ago, where people had nominated their favorite hot sauces. Hopefully this coming week, I'm going to whittle those down, get all the nominations in, and then the top 64 vote getters will be put into that kind of March Madness-style bracket system. So depending on when you're listening to this, it's around Valentine's Day. So throughout February and March of 2013, you can hop on over to scottrobertsweb.com, and I will begin having some of the head-to-head matchups when it comes to those hot sauces, where you could vote between the two, and they'll go down to the top 32, 16, 8, 4, and then the final showdown. So other than that, that's about it this week. Probably the first downloaders of this podcast will be hearing me as I am in Ohio for the 2013 Fiery Foods Weekend at the North Market in Columbus. So I am planning to get a report from that show, and that will be on the podcast as well as my blog in the next week or so. So stick around, tune in, download, visit the website, So you can catch some really good Midwest fiery foods action. So that's about it. Let's go ahead and get to the weekly segments.
And now, the review of the week.
And a review this week is for a couple products from Addiction Sauces. There are Bhut Jolokia and Habanero hot sauces. Addiction Sauces is a fairly new company, and as of this review, they have two different products that I just mentioned, the Bhut Jolokia sauce and the Habanero sauce. And both of them are fairly similar in structure and the components and their consistency. They both kind of have a bright and deep orange color, and they also both share a kind of medium thin consistency. And at their core, I guess they're kind of like a Louisiana-style hot sauce. But from that point, they have different ingredients. And both of them have a fruity spin. So I guess you can almost consider them to be a fruit-based hot sauce as opposed to a strictly vinegar, pepper, salt, Louisiana-style hot sauce. Now I'll start off with the Bhut Jolokia sauce. It contains banana and pineapple, in addition to other things that kind of add some depth and complexity to it, like carrots and onions and even a little bit of tomato paste. And as you try this, you get some of the Bhut Jolokia heat, you get the obvious vinegar kick to it, but I think it's the banana that really stands out and gives it a nice fruity smoothness to it. It's not a harsh tasting sauce, but then again, it doesn't go all the way to crossing the line into being more of a dessert sauce. No, it's still pretty much a versatile chili pepper sauce, but it's that banana, and I guess to a lesser extent, pineapple, bell pepper, carrots, onions, that gives it some real depth to it. And I tell you, this is highly versatile. This is something that's at home on eggs and potatoes, as well as Mexican food and on meats. As a matter of fact, for extreme chili heads, this might be considered a good table sauce. It is that highly versatile, and it's very good, very smooth. Again, it doesn't have an overly tart or harsh, and for that matter, it's not an extreme heat hot sauce. I would say for the Bhut Jolokia sauce, it's a little bit more towards the medium end of the heat scale. And then for the Habanero hot sauce, it's similar in a lot of ways. It has the banana, it has the pineapple. It's probably a little less complex as far as the flavor profile goes. It's kind of a habanero sauce, a little bit more of that peppery kick to it as far as the taste of the pepper goes. But it still has that fruitiness, which makes it very good, makes it very versatile. And even though I would recommend the sauce, I probably didn't like it as much as the Bhut Jolokia sauce. And I'm not just saying that in terms of heat either. Now, unless you're a complete mild mouth and don't want some of the medium hot burn from the Bhut Jolokia sauce, therefore you would probably want the Habanero sauce more. That would be geared more towards you, because on a heat scale of 1 to 5, this would probably be a 2.5. I would probably gravitate towards the Bhut Jolokia sauce. I think that one is a little better. Now, as far as a star rating for both of them, Bhut Jolokia sauce gets a 4 out of 5 from me. The Habanero, 3 out of 5. Again, both very good, very versatile. But as far as being a true addiction, I think that distinction belongs to the Bhut Jolokia sauce. But all in all, very good efforts from Addiction Sauces. And if you're interested in trying these out, simply go to addictionsauces.com or click the link in the show notes for episode 25 of the Weekly Firecast.
And now, the Fire Talkers interview.
Joining me on the Skype chat line is Tracy Carter of JAC's Tailgaters. How's everything going tonight?
Oh, man, it's going great, Scott. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Of course, last week I talked to Shane Draper of Draper's BBQ about a collaboration you two are having. We'll get to that further in the interview. Yeah, I just big things are going on with you. And what I want to know is, how did you get started cooking and creating products under the JAC's Tailgaters name?
Okay, well, first off, I think a lot of people may know the story, but the story of the name JAC's Tailgaters is my son's initials, Jordan Allen Carter. And the reason I chose that is my father called my son Jack all the time because of his initials. And I was just kind of playing tribute to my dad. When Kristi and I started this business, my dad wasn't doing real well in his health and stuff, but he surprised us and lasted a little longer than we thought. But so we were just kind of doing something in memory of him. And then also, my son had been through a lot in his life, so I wanted to kind of do a tribute to him too. And so that's where the JACs came from. The Tailgaters is a venture that I want to do down the road. If it ever comes about, I always wanted to open up a sports type restaurant where you had big screen TVs playing, kind of like a Buffalo Wild Wings, how they got TVs everywhere, but just on a little different scale than that, and have different ball games and like have an indoor tailgating party, set up like that. So that's kind of a venture that I'd like to do before I get too old. But that's where that came. But I was just setting it up, setting everything up to, if that venture ever came about, it came about, and I'd already have a name built for myself,
Mm-hmm. So your current product line is very extensive. I mean, you have hot sauces and seasonings and rubs and dip mixes and everything. How did all of this come about, and what were your first products?
Oh my gosh, Scott, my first products were salsa and the mustard sauce. We don't even carry salsa anymore. Mm-hmm. I was one day, I've always liked to grill and stuff like that, but my love for salsa came about when I was working with the Indian guy at my job, and he liked to eat salsa and he liked spicy foods. And being the patriotic American that I am, I couldn't let him outdo me. I mean, he's a great guy. I'm a godfather to his child, as he calls me. So, but I couldn't let him outdo me. So, I started really getting into it, and I wanted some salsa for a meal that I was cooking, and went to the store and I bought some, and I was like, oh, that's crap. And then I kept, I went back again, and oh, that's crap again. So I ended up making some from scratch, and I shared it with some, it came out so good. I shared it with some friends and this, that, and the other. And next thing I know, people's like, you need to bottle it and market it. And I said, and then I came across the Zesty Best Awards, and my lovely wife and kind of said, why don't you submit those things? So I did, and we won a first and second place with our salsa and our jerk sauce. Now, in the beginning, I didn't have our jerk sauce for production, but now that's one of our top sellers, and it's also another award-winning product. Those were my first products, was the mustard sauce, the Bayou Gold sauce. Then it's just, my mind does not shut off at all, Scott. I'm constantly creating and this, that, and the other. And, the dip mixes came about because I was at an arts and crafts show selling my salsa and mustard sauce. And this little old lady and man was sitting across from me, and they were selling dip mixes, one right after another. And I'm like, wait a minute, they're making lots of money over there. So I came home that night. This was on a Saturday morning. I came home that night, and I've been playing with different spices and stuff that I put in my salsa seasonings, and I created 3 dips. And the jalapeno dip, the fiesta dip, and the chipotle dip. Created them. I went and read on the back of the ranch dip package, that you can mix up as a dip or a salad dressing, on how you mixed it up. So I went and bought that stuff, the sour cream and mayonnaise, come home and tried those 3 that we did. And I was like, man, these taste pretty good. So I said, how am I going to package them? I looked over, had a sleeve of Food Saver bags and a Food Saver. So I cut me square bags out, and I printed on a label machine labels for these things. And I took them back Sunday. I just threw together a couple of dozen of each one of them. I sold them quick. I was like, wow. so that's,
you're onto something.
Yeah. So that's how those came about. And then the rest is history, man. I just, as I've grown in my cooking expose, I just started figuring out that I had a knack for putting things together and flavor profiles together, and things have just grown from there. And now I can't stop. It's so hard for me to stop, which is, during this interview, I'm going to kind of fill you in on some directions that we're going, which is, we're going to be dropping some products, even though they're good sellers. We finally come to a point in our career and in our business that we need to hone that niche, that we need to be in, and we need to focus on that and become the best we can be at that particular area, instead of so widespread.
Yeah. Well, that's going to be one of the questions I was going to ask you. Now, Did you have any type of formal culinary training, anything at all? I'm surprised. A lot of people that have just absolutely stellar products. I mean, you can go to people like Johnny of Heartbreaking Dawns and several other people. It's like they don't go to any culinary school. They just mess around and they try sometimes oddball ingredient, just mixing things together, and they come up with some of the most flavorful stuff. It's no different with you. Do you think it just came naturally to you?
Well, yes, I do, Scott. I've never had any formal training. I always tell people when they ask me, I said, yeah, I got it from the School of Food Network in the days. But not really, being that I'm an ex-serviceman and I was raised up by a military father as well. I've kind of been all over the world, and I've ate different things and tasted different cuisines and stuff. And then being from Louisiana's a melting pot of flavor. So you learn, and then you pick up on what you like and you don't like. And I'll be honest, God has blessed me with a talent that I can just actually put things together and that just works. I have a knack of picking out what goes well together. Now, is it 100%? No, I don't know anybody that's 100% every time, but just feel like that God gave me a talent there.
He definitely has. There are a few of your products I've just fallen in love with. I mean, I've known you for a few years, but I don't think it was until early of last year in 2012 that I tasted products like the raspberry chipotle sauce, and of course the pineapple orange habanero sauce, later of which I awarded my product of the year last year.
Yeah, man, and that was great. Thank you so much. That review you did on that sauce as well too was phenomenal, and Kristi and I are forever in your debt for that. That was really good. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for creating a great product. Just things like that. How long did it take you to develop the recipes for those?
The pineapple orange sauce, believe this or not, between Kristi and I put the first part of it together. Kristi put the seasoning part of that together, and it was a hit the first time.
Wow.
First time. We did that. We did that matter of an hour and a half together. I put the fruity flavors and stuff together. She came up with a seasoning mix, and it was like, bam. It was nice. It worked together, and it worked well together. In 2006, it's the year that we brought that product out. We were in Lafayette at the Louisiana Hot Sauce Festival in New Iberia. I'm sorry. We placed in the People's Choice Awards there. It was Cajun, myself, and this other company that's long gone by now that won the People's Choice Awards that year. And we knew we had something then, at that point in time, because the product, I think we had just introduced it to the public maybe a month before that. And then when we won that, and then we sold the stew out of it, and it had labels, when we first got going on it and everything, we didn't know what we were going to do with it. And we just, we got it, had stuff bottled up, and then we put paper labels on it. Mm-hmm. That's how we started out with that sauce. The raspberry chipotle came. My first customer is a little store here in town, and I went to her one day and I said, I was really wanting to create a new product, and I asked her, I said, Ashley, I said, what's your number one selling product? I said, because I want to take it over. I want to be able to do something like it without, and be your number one seller. She laughed at me and she showed me that Rothschild's Farms raspberry chipotle jelly. Mm-hmm. She said, you'll never be able to do that. And I said, oh, really? And she said, yes. So I said, okay. Didn't buy a bottle of it. I still today have not tasted that jelly for anything. I came home and told Kristi that, and Kristi said, I know. So we started working on it, and I guess it took us maybe 3 or 4 tries, and we nailed that one down to where we wanted it, to where it was different from the other raspberry chipotle sauces on the market. Ours is way different than most of them. Most of them have really got an overpowered smokiness to them. Ours has got a neutral balance of all the flavors together, I think.
Yeah, when it comes to smoky stuff, I like it. The chipotle infused stuff. I agree. It's really easy to overdo that smoky flavor and make things taste like, you're chewing on stuff that comes out of an ashtray. But that's just perfect with that fruity blend. It just has the right amount of sweetness, right amount of spiciness, and it's just another stellar product.
Oh, thank you. Those two products, those along with our Bayou Gold mustard sauce, as far as out of the sauces, are our best-selling products right there, Scott, that we have.
Now, currently, how many products do you have in your product line? And then, as you kind of mentioned, how are you going to kind of whittle down your product line?
Currently, we have probably about 32 products, maybe. What we're fixing to focus on, the barbecue and the grilling aspect of our business. We're going to be letting some of our dip mixes go. They may be a small seasonal error for those, but as a broad scale, we're going to be dropping our dip mixes. We're going to be dropping our Creole seasoning mixes and our soup mixes. We're going to keep our chili mix going. Our chili mix is it kind of fits in with the grilling and tailgate theme. So we're gonna keep that into production, and we're gonna scale. We're gonna start scaling mostly towards the barbecue and the grilling side of the house, which means you'll start seeing some more barbecue sauces come out. We're expanding the line of that of our Bayou Gold mustard sauces. We've just yesterday, Ken Alexander posted about our Bayou Gold Chipotle mustard sauce. We're fixing to do I also have a Habanero one, Bayou Gold Habanero mustard sauce. And also there's going to be later, it's just going to be introduced probably in mid to end of the year, is going to be a jalapeno lime mustard sauce, Bayou Gold mustard sauce as well.
Wow.
There's a reason why I'm expanding that line is I like to take the mustard sauce, and it's no secret now that I really like to barbecue. I like to have a slather, and the mustard sauces are my slather.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm going to that. But, they're not just for that. People use them on ham sandwiches and this, that, and the other. Anything you put mustard on, you can put these sauces on.
Well, they sound really good.
I can't wait for you to try those. I think I got your new product of the year with that one.
Oh.
I can't wait for you to try the Bayou Golds, because I'm going to get it again with those.
Confidence. I like that. Awesome. Do you think that, I guess I should ask you, what kind of lessons do you think you've learned over the years as far as developing products and maybe coming up with stuff that really didn't stick or didn't sell well? What are some of the lessons that you learned that maybe you could convey to newer sauce makers or newer product makers out there?
Well, the biggest lesson that I've learned out of all this is to stop, sit back, find your niche first. Get yourself going in that niche. Don't try to overwork yourself. Do not try to overproduce stuff. My biggest thing is I went across the board too fast. Way too many products, too many different directions. Trying to please the whole spectrum of gourmet type foods is our industry is. We might as well say we're that gourmet side of the house. You can't do that and be effective, Scott. You can't grow by having way too many areas that you're trying to target. So find your area, target that area, be the best you can be in that area. Mm-hmm. Some of the products that, our salsa was a good seller, but as we got to moving on, we saw that other products that we got better yields at for the money that we were spending, selling just as good or a little better. So we decided not to take the time with those, to take up the time and the resources when we could be, expressing our efforts in other areas like the mustard in the pineapple orange and the raspberry. And at the time we came out with our Creole mixes and also our chili, and those were really doing a lot, outperforming the salsa. So that was a decision we had to make. Let's focus. Let's put that money into production of these products that are outperforming. So you have to know when to let something go as well. And that was a hard lesson for us to learn. And we're 7 years in, and we haven't grown like I thought we should have grown. And a lot of that's due to, we just tried to be everything that we could be in every area we could be. And that wasn't the smart thing for us to do. So that's why we're narrowing it down. We're going to focus on our niche there and go strong in that area and kind of let go of some of these other areas.
Yeah. I've seen so many new product makers just come out. They're barely a year old, and they're introducing 6 new sauces and 8 new this. And it's like, wow, can you really spread yourself that wide and make sure that everything tastes great? And so I always have my doubts when I see people come across like that.
Yeah, it was a tough lesson for me. I mean, it really was. Kristi had a better grasp on that, a lot better than I did. I just didn't listen to her. I was like, well, I got to do this. I got to do that. And people are liking this. I need to expand more there. Oh no, now they're over here. I was all over the place. And to be honest, that hurt me and where I couldn't grow and I couldn't get the attention where I needed to get the attention at, to be able to be a noteworthy company. I think that we're on the right track now, and I would love to help new people get into this and understand the hard lessons that we learned from that.
We're going to take a little break right now, but we'll return for the second half of this interview right after these messages.
Two Guys Talking is proud to be using Heil Thin microphones inside their podcast studios in St. Charles, Missouri, just outside St. Louis. Thin mics from Heil Sound aren't just providing great audio quality, they're fun. With glistening blue LEDs in each, they are true technological centerpieces and help Two Guys Talking make the mark inside the podcast industry. Are you familiar with Heil microphones? Check out all the details now at heilsound.com. That's HEIL sound.com. And learn why Two Guys Talking uses and succeeds with the best microphone technology. Heil Sound, laying down the best audio tracks at the Two Guys Talking Podcast Network.
For a second chance.
Having a friendly, relatable voice can make all the difference in your marketing efforts. Let Scott Roberts' voiceover be that voice. I can give you the goods, whatever your need is, whether it be for commercials, podcasts, voicemail phone systems and on-hold messages, business presentations, websites, audiobooks, and more. If you require a personable, real, down-to-earth voiceover artist, then look no further. You can find out more at scottrobertsvoice.com.
Are you following the following podcast? There's never been a mission more critical. Join the Two Guys Talking following now by accessing thefollowingpodcast.com and become one of the following today. Followingpodcast.com. Thefollowingpodcast.com.
Hey, Dexter Podcast fans. We've had a ton of feedback about our podcast efforts and wanted to invite you to the newest piece of the Two Guys Talking experience, Two Guys Talking TV. That's right. Now you can watch us live as we record all of our podcasts. It's all available live via the web right now. Get literally under the hood with Two Guys Talking as we edit down podcasts, punch out great custom website work, custom cartooning, and a ton more. It's never been easier to enjoy the creation process and to share and revel with all the cool behind-the-scenes fun with Two Guys Talking TV. Check it out now at twoguystalking.com/TV. We look forward to interacting with you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon via Two Guys Talking TV.
You consider yourself to be a chilihead and want to find some hot new gear to wear?
Oh yeah!
Look no further than chiliheadtees.com. If you're a heat freak and love hot sauce, chili peppers, or anything dealing with fiery and spicy foods, this is the place to get t-shirts to show off your obsession. Chilihead Tees is dedicated to giving you the hottest t-shirts, mouse pads, mug, apron, and more for the discriminating chilihead. Go to chiliheadtees.com. That's chiliheadstees.com.
And we are back, and here's the second half of the interview. Go ahead and describe a typical day for you and the life of JAC's Tailgaters.
Well, a typical day off of JAC's Tailgaters is me waking up and say, honey, and she says, stop it right there. Because she knows exactly what I was dreaming something up in my head last night. So Kristi keeps me in check on that. But a typical day is me trying to find the avenues of where I can start trying to get my product in, or marketing it in, and developing and making and packing and shipping and all that. And that's leads me to another thing that for the newbies. Have a co-packer. You can't do it all.
Yeah.
you know, that was a hard lesson. We're fixing to swap to Endorphin Farms to allow them to pack all our stuff and all our liquids and stuff. And we're fixing to go back into not being the manufacturers and the marketers and the sellers and the grunt work and all that. We're fixing to get smart with that. My typical day is constantly, I wake up and put two hats on. I put a hat on that has to do my regular 40-hour-a-week job plus, and then I have this other hat that's constantly thinking, okay, this flavor will go with this flavor, this spice will go with this, and this. You know, this dish, I need to make this dish with this sauce so I can put the recipe out there, or something like that. And then it's all about marketing. I spend hours trying to market our products in different ways, through social media, through emails or phone calls or whatnot. It's an insane asylum in my head, but it works out in the long run.
Very cool. Okay, so what is your side of the story as far as getting together with Shane Draper of Draper's BBQ and collaborating on some new products?
Oh, brother, let me first tell you, Scott, I'm a people person, and I think you know that already.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a special bond between a veteran, between military personnel. Shane's a veteran, and I'm a veteran. I ordered, based off of your review, I ordered a bottle of his barbecue sauce and his all-purpose rub. And I liked it. And his all-purpose rub I loved. I really did. But being the creator that I am, I'm going to play with it a little bit, right? Oh, this could be a little better this way. And I'm not saying that his product's not great. I'm not saying that. I just, to my taste, I jumped out there and I threw some Chipotle in there. So first thing I did is I seen him on Facebook. Mm-hmm. I sent him a message. I said, hey, brother, I just want to tell you, I really like your products. They're great. I got them, I said, but I'm going to tell you, I used some Chipotle powder in your AP rub. And I said, and it was a knockout. We just got to talking, and then, and then it was like we had this bond that servicemen have together, and it just clicked. And I just felt that from the very first time we talked on the phone. Shane's a great guy, and I couldn't imagine a better person in the area that I'm trying to go to in that niche to team up with. And we both have the same focus and same goals in life as far as where we want to go. And so we decided to team up and create a competition style product line. Mm-hmm. Scott, and I, you know me long enough that if I've got to keep going until I am the best at what I'm doing. And I can't stand to play second fiddle, but not that I don't play second fiddle, as far as some things go, because there's some great products out there. I mean, there's so many of them that I love, but I got to strive to be there. And Shane is the same way. And so that's why we're going to take this competition barbecue line over the top. We're really going to hit it hard. And we're going to be donating 10% of our proceeds to some veteran organization, whether it's Wounded Warrior Projects, American Legion, the VFW, or something like that. We want to give back to the area that has given us so much in life, has taught us to be the people that we are, our military background. They honestly formed us, and to be in with our work ethics and also knowing how to help and care for people. So we want to give back. And I think that's more of the story there than it is that we really want to be the best in the competition barbecue. Don't get me wrong, we will be the best in competition barbecue. But I think it's more that the fact that we've seen where we can give back to those who so greatly gave to us.
Excellent.
Excellent.
When you say stuff like that, it just makes it, so much more enticing on top of everything that both of you have already said about it. I'm dying to try the products, but knowing that, some of it's going to a good cause, that's great. So any more information as far as specifically what is contained in the products, when it might be debuting, anything like that?
Yes. Well, we're gonna be shooting for around Memphis in May is when we're gonna be trying to introduce at least 2 of the products at that time. Mm-hmm. The sauce, we're gonna be introducing the sauce, and we're gonna be introducing a rub. and I am actually formulating the sauce for our test run through some competition barbecuers right now. That's what's going to make this product great. We're actually listening to the people that's going to be using our product. We're getting it in their hands. We're letting them try it, let them give us feedback. And if there's something that we can take between all those feedbacks and we can tweak a little bit, we're going to tweak it, put it back in their hands again, let them finish trying it again. We're listening to them develop the products that they're begging for out there. You have great products out there. Blues Hog, for one thing, that is the number one used barbecue sauce. But from what our research has done, you have to cut that with another sauce or your other things to get it to the flavor you want it.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to be that barbecue sauce that, hey, I may want to be able to add something to it, but I can use it and it can stand alone and still be the winning sauce that, that Blues Hog is. That's our main focus. When we decided to do this, we said the only way we're going to do products is we're going to listen to the people that we want to buy our products. And so that's what we're doing. We've been researching and talking with people, getting everything together. I'm started on the formulation of the sauce. He started on the formulation of the first rub that's going to go out there. You should see us introduce this around Memphis in May. Of course, you and Brian will get some of the first ones because y'all will be two of the ones, starting to introduce it out and getting it out to the public's ears and stuff.
Yeah.
So y'all going to have the exclusive rights for that. And I think we have one or two barbecue bloggers that Shane is going to give, and we're going to try to coordinate that, all four of y'all, to release it at the same time if at all possible. But this sauce is going to be a cross between the barbecue world in the zesty world. And so you're gonna have a little bit of the sweet molassesy, that sweetness that a great barbecue sauce has, and then you're gonna have that zest of our zesty side of the house from us. So I can't give it away what the zest is gonna be, but I'm gonna tell you it's gonna be really nice. It's going to formulate where we can have some off products off of that, so we can go with some to hit the chili world really hard as we go down. As Shane called it, the Starbucks candy, stuff. It's going to be formulated where I can go with some super hots at some point with it, just so you know that for the chili heads of the world. I'm not going to forget my family,
That's going to be maybe a second version of it.
That's going to be second version. That's right. That'll be the second version of it. The first version, we're concentrating on competition. These sauces and these rubs are going to be so robust, so flavorful from the get-go. Not one of those that just builds on you. You have so many great barbecue sauces out there that it takes layers of them for you to really get the pow of it.
Yeah.
Not these. These right here are going to hit you with flavor. Right off the bat, they're going to give you that tongue dance that we all crave when we're tasting the product and off our grills. You want that little bit. Oh, you want that party in your mouth. These things are going to give it to you right off the bat. We're developing for one bite wonders. Let me just tell you that right now.
Interesting. Now, my approach to barbecue is that you put the seasoning, the rub on first. That provides most of the flavor.
Right.
And to me, a barbecue sauce is more of a finishing sauce. It's more of kind of I don't want to say an optional thing, but it's not a big necessity. Whereas the rub takes control of most of the flavor.
Yes.
Did you guys kind of take that approach to doing these?
Yes, we did. We know that the rub is the number one ingredient of a great barbecue. In the competition world, it's all about eyes too. So you'll see just about every piece of meat other than brisket, and some people sauce briskets, but they all have some kind of sauce or glaze on their product. Mm-hmm. And then you see them come back and put another finishing rub or something on top of them. Not everybody, but it is a good majority of people do that. So what we've taken into consideration there is let's give that pop from that rub to get into that flavor into your meat. Give that sauce that can complement that rub, but still have flavor and still, make that explosion in your mouth. Both of those. Competition barbecue, there's no heavy saucing. I haven't seen it. There may still be some out there, but I haven't seen it in there. I've seen, like you said, it's a finishing sauce. So that finishing sauce has to create that other layer of flavor, and that's exactly what we're developing for.
Nice. I'm glad you guys are taking that approach. as Shane kind of mentioned, you guys aren't sure how you're going to release it, under which name, if it's going to be a tertiary name. Like I told him, please don't have some cutesy little play on words or a combination of both of your names.
It is a new line, period. We're not going to be marketing as any of it as Jack's Tailgaters or any of it as Draper's Barbecue. It is a new line, new company, so to speak. We're still working on the names. I will tell you this, since like I said earlier, we're going to give back to those who gave to us as far as our military backgrounds go. It will be along the military lines of naming.
Very cool.
So I will tell you that, and but you'll start seeing some evidence, and we'll be passing you off some things, some samples and stuff like that too, Scott. I'll give a little hint. You're gonna see Jack's Tailgaters touch as far as what I like to do with the couple of sauces you already talked about.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see that creeping into that sauce. Okay, something like that into that sauce. I'm not going to go to the high fructose corn syrup avenue so many commercial barbecues have.
Mm-hmm.
I will utilize the natural sweetness of many things in there. And I think that people's going to be amazed at how good these products are. I really do. I think it's something that the competition world's craved. I think it's going to be a great offshoot as we later on when we release the Starbucks line, as he calls it, as Shane called it. I think that it's going to take over both areas for grilling and stuff like that.
Very cool. Very cool. Can't wait for that. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention? Anything else you wanted to promote or say before we get off the call?
Well, yeah. Let me just say this too. Separate from me and Shane, I am working on a few more sauces to go with the pineapple orange and the raspberry for grilling. And so those will start. You'll start seeing those creep up. Some really cool different flavors they'll be creeping up soon. Also, a couple of new rubs that'll be coming out on the Jack's Tailgaters line. These are going to be for everyday consumption. People can, they don't have to worry about them being so intense, because competition barbecue, you gotta develop for that one bite,
Mm-hmm.
These are going to be something that you can use and enjoy in multiple purposes. Those will be coming out. As I said earlier, the mustard sauces. Also, going to be teaming up with Endorphin Farms. The new products that we do are going to be packed with quality. Just watch out for us in the cooking area too. So we're going to be trying to do a little more recipes and stuff like that. We're going to win the I Love It Spicy.com. Feast your eyes on this. We're going to win that.
You are, huh? Rumor has it that I might be a judge again this year.
Well, hey, that's good. We're going to let me tell you, this is how I'm going to try to approach it. I'm going to try to be able to do everything that I do on the grill or in the smoker or on an outdoor cook stove for that whole competition. I'm going to stick to what my roots are. Outdoor cooking on the bayou.
Well, that sounds good. But, of course, bribes to me, I would love to say, large quantities of money might persuade my opinion. But, no, I got to be fair. You can't bribe me on this.
Scott, one thing, I've said a lot of things with confidence here, this time interviewing with you. And that's something that I've decided I've got to do. I've got to be a little more confident in who I am as a company and who I am as a person in this business in order for me to get out there and be a little more aggressive and people know who I am. Other than just, he's that nice guy, won't say anything bad about anybody. I've got to start being a little more confident in who I am. So please don't take it as me coming off as cocky on this thing.
Oh, no, I don't think anybody does. Anybody who knows you, you're one of the nicest, most down-to-earth people you'd ever want to meet. But you do have, some stellar products. So you have a right to brag a little bit. Nothing wrong with that.
But Scott, you're going to be amazed at some of these newer sauces. Kristi and I started working on another sauce this past weekend, and I want everybody to realize too that the stellar products are not all me. Kristi is a huge backbone in this company. She really kind of keeps me in focus, and she really keeps me going. And when I come up with some sauces or some recipe, she's there to help me fine tune them and tweak them. So, to make sure that they're Johnny on the spot. So, she's definitely, without her, there would be no Jack's Tailgaters.
Oh, absolutely. You always have to, give credit to your better half.
Yeah.
They're so indispensable when it comes to so many different things.
Oh yeah, and she really is, and all these flavors and stuff, all these different profiles. Yes, some of them may just be me, but 90% of them, 98% of them, is definitely got her stamp on there too. So they're not just all me. That's one thing. A lot of people don't realize that about her too. She's got a mighty good cooking hand. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Well, excellent. It sounds like you have a great team there with you and Kristi. And again, I look forward to everything that you're going to come up with.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting it out there to everybody. I have to take my time with it. I can't jump out there and just give it to you, right at once. I've got to take my time to make sure that I'm giving everybody the best product that I can give them. So, and that's a lot of people don't realize too. There's a lot of times that Kristi and I'll work on something for years before we think it's worthy of being released. Our Creole mixes were 3 years in the making, and our chili was about the same in the making.
Mm-hmm.
Before we felt like it was good enough to be a top-notch product.
Good things sometimes takes time.
Yeah, it does. It does. But just keep an eye out on us. I'm going to be cooking with the Flying Swine barbecue team this year. The guy that has the team, I'm going to be sponsoring him with JAC's Tailgaters products. But he's also a good friend of mine. I want to be there to support him and also win some. So, and I just felt like it was best to go out there and compete with him instead under his name than it is with mine. So I can actually sponsor a few more cooks and stuff like that.
Where are we going to see you next as far as public appearances?
Well, our next appearance will be, like I said, you'll see us on that. Just feast your eyes on this, and then once we win that, we'll be in Ohio for the June for the June show. But that's our next goal, is to be there on that one at that show. Definitely Houston. Well, in Houston, and then the Chili Pepper Extravaganza in New Orleans.
Well, I hope to make at least one of those shows.
Yeah, you're gonna make one of those this year. You got to. So you gotta make one of those. So
I'm going to the North Market show just in a few days.
Yes, you are, and that was one of my best shows that I've ever done. I really wanted to make that happen this year, but it just the cards didn't play out right on that. So, but maybe next year it's going to be a great time for everybody. That's where I met Johnny and Nicole, was there at that show, when that was one of their first things they ever did, and I knew they had something. They had something special. Just simply the teamwork that they had made them so, you could tell, the way they were working with each other, and the products they had were great. You could tell they had it together. So
absolutely. Where could we find you online?
You can find me online at www.jacstailgaters. That's JACSTAILGATERS.com. Or you can see me on my blog at JACstailgaters at blogspot.com.
And you're on Twitter and Facebook?
I'm on Twitter and Facebook. I'm always there. You can catch me out, see all them little lovely photos of food that we're cooking constantly, and stupid little questions and little sayings that I put out there and misspelled words. Y'all can catch me on that. Get me out there, and then we can all have it going on. If nothing else, just hook up on Facebook with me and laugh and talk about my bad spelling.
Well, excellent. Well, Tracy, it's always a pleasure. Hopefully, it won't be, as long between phone calls, just regular phone calls between you and I. I know you're a busy guy with your 9-to-5 job and everything, so I appreciate you getting on here tonight.
Yeah, brother. I appreciate you having me. I really do. It's been a long time coming. Thank you so much for doing this. And I look forward to talking with you more, Scott. Look forward to you putting out some more reviews on our products in the near future.
Oh, absolutely.
And you have a great night, and can't wait to hear it on the radio.
Okay, cool.
All right.
We'll talk to you soon. Tracy is one of the nicest guys you ever want to meet. And like I had mentioned in the beginning of the interview, he's been around for a number of years. And his company just kind of stayed under the radar for the most part. I mean, he's known in a lot of chili head circles. This guy is mega talented. Great product line all across the board. And like I said, his raspberry chipotle sauce is an outstanding 5-star product. And the other one that I mentioned was his pineapple orange habanero finishing sauce, which if you go back several episodes in the Weekly Firecast, my picks for best products of 2012, you'll know that won Product of the Year. The stuff is that good. And Tracy and both JAC's Tailgaters deserve all the accolades they can get and all the exposure they can get. So if you want to try some excellent barbecue and hot sauce products, get it from one of the maestros. Get it from one of the best people out there in the business at jackstailgaters.com. No, I'm not being paid or compensated for this. I'm just a huge fan who loves their products. So that and all the other important links are in the show notes for episode 25. And speaking of episode 25, it's hard to believe. It's a quarter of a century of podcast. Well, okay, obviously not in years. I haven't even been chugging along for more than half a year. That's the next episode. Just number-wise, it's certainly come a long way. You know, I've appeared on a lot of other people's shows and podcasts in the past, including the Barbecue Central radio show hosted by Greg Rempe. A lot of you guys already know that. And you can listen nationwide to that on the Outdoor Cooking channel. Just do a Google search for that. And I used to appear on the Hot Sauce Weekly podcast, dating back to, I think, 2009. Anyway, I began this little venture late last summer, turned the ill-fated video show Weekly Firecast into an audio podcast. And I feel a lot more at home doing this than the video thing, just for a number of reasons. I'm not going to get into everything right now. But I love what I'm doing. I love the audio podcast. And I believe podcasting in general could have such a larger reach because it's one of those things that you could listen to and digest in a more passive role. I mean, while you're just browsing on the computer or just perusing Facebook, whatever you happen to do on the computer, you can just turn this on, listen to it in the background. You can listen to it in the car. You know, put it on your iPhone, your MP3 player, however you listen to podcasts. Listen to it at the gym, while you're gardening, while you're doing household chores, whatever it is. It's a lot easier to listen to this type of thing than to sit in front of a computer and watch a video on YouTube for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. And I'm not knocking videos who do that type of thing, but I just happen to think podcasts, they could have a broader audience, a bigger reach because of that, because of the fact that you can listen to it in a number of ways. So even though audio podcasting has been around since about 2005, I think its golden days are still ahead of us. It's primed to explode. And kind of, again, with the advent of technology, everybody's going to be able to listen to things in their vehicles, all throughout their house, and internet-enabled appliances and tablets and phones and gadgets and whatnot are just going to be ubiquitous. They're just going to be everywhere. So it's going to be a lot easier to listen to these types of things. But anyway, I'm getting off on some weird tangent here. I guess my whole point is it's hard to believe I put in 25 episodes. Actually, I think quite a bigger deal is the next episode, 26, which will mark a half a year of the audio version of the Weekly Firecast. And next week, I'm going to have none other than the Pope of Peppers, Dave DeWitt, give a little preview of the Fiery Foods and Barbecue Show, the big show, the big hot sauce show of the year. It takes place in Albuquerque, and he has a big anniversary. Of course, the Fiery Food Show is going to be celebrating its 25th show. That has been going on since 1988. And it's a big milestone in the Fiery Foods world. It's the longest-lasting show of its kind, geared just for chili heads. And that's pretty exciting. So I'm going to have a talk with him in the next episode, episode 26. So anyway, now's the time of the show where I will mention everyone who has shared a link on Facebook or retweeted any link for the most recent episode of the Weekly Firecast. And then quickly, as I explain every week, whenever I put a link to the latest episode of the Weekly Firecast on Facebook, if you share it, or if I put the link up on Twitter, if you retweet it, either way, I will mention your name in the next episode, or your company's name. So anyway, the people who shared it on Twitter, there was Midwest Chili Heads. Their Twitter handle is jknoll4. There was Joy Vogel Lottie, and her Twitter name is @Joy's Kitchen. There was Sauce Authority. Their Twitter handle is @Sauce Authority. And there was James Haskell, and his Twitter handle is JD Haskell. And then sharing the link on Facebook, it was Mike Eisenberg of Wicked Cactus Sauce, and his company can be found at wickedcactussauce.com. There was, of course, Shane Draper, who I interviewed last week. Thank you very much, Shane. There was JAC's Tailgaters, of course. Thank you very much, JAC's. There was Jim Duffy at Refining Fired Chilies. His website is www.refiningfiredchilies.com. Thank you, Jim. And there is my podcasting partner at the Two Guys Talking Network, Mike Wilkerson. Thank you very much for sharing that. And speaking of Facebook and Twitter, if you don't know where to go, where to find me, I will tell you right now. You can like my Facebook page at facebook.com/ScottRobertsWeb, and you can follow me at Twitter at twitter.com/ScottRoberts. Of course, I'm on other places and other social networking sites. Just do search for Scott Roberts Web or Scott Roberts. If you happen to see my little picture, of me, my bald head, my goatee, you know that you've come to the right place. I don't think there's really any fake accounts with me on there. I don't want to give anybody any ideas, but those are other ways you can connect with me. And my hub, my main spot on the web, is my blog at scottrobertsweb.com. And from there, you can go to the main Weekly Firecast page, or you can just simply type in weeklyfirecast.com, or the Firecast page on the Two Guys Talking Network site, which is the numeral 2guystalking.com/Firecast. Well, I've been rattling long enough this episode. Thanks to everybody for all your love and support, and for help spreading the word to other chili heads and barbecuers. And until next time, remember, keep it burning.
This has been the Weekly Firecast. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast via iTunes or at the official website at scottrobertsweb.com/weeklyfirecast. The Weekly Firecast is part of the Two Guys Talking podcast network. For more information on other great Two Guys Talking programming, you can go to twoguystalking.com. That's the number 2, guystalking.com. Thanks for listening. And remember, keep it burning.